Today is Good Friday. Good for us. And yet sometimes we forget that ours is to be a theology of the cross. And we are reminded on this day with the traditional 14 stations of the cross. Jesus is condemned to death. Jesus accepts the cross. Jesus falls for the first time. Jesus meets his mother. Simon of Cyrene carries the cross. Veronica wipes the face of Jesus. Jesus falls the second time. Jesus meets the women of Jerusalem. Jesus falls the third time. Jesus is stripped of his garments. Crucifixion. Jesus is nailed to the cross. Jesus dies on the cross. Jesus' body is removed, and Jesus is laid in the tomb. Not all of these have specific scripture references. But I remind you that a part of our remembering Good Friday is that Jesus told us to take up our cross and follow him. And that some of these same things will happen to us. For sin has condemned us to death. Do we accept the cross of Jesus, knowing that if we die with him, we shall be resurrected with him, as it says in Romans 6. Yes, we stumble. 3 times Jesus stumbled. Some of us stumble that much in an hour. We meet those who are in our life first. Then we meet strangers who walk along with us. We meet others, and the witness of the church grows. We die to sin daily. Now Jesus is in the Garden of Gethsemane, Matthew 26. John 18 also has Jesus in the garden. That's the first station of the cross, where Jesus is arrested. And there, the second station, Mark 14, 43rd verse, Jesus is betrayed by Judas. It's also in John, Matthew, and Luke. The third station, Luke 22, also in Matthew, Mark, and John. Jesus is condemned by the Sanhedrin. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John also agree that 4, Jesus is denied by Peter. Mark chapter 15, Jesus is judged by Pilate. John 19, Jesus is scourged. Also in John 19, Jesus bears the cross. Mark 15, Jesus is helped by Simon the Cyrenian to help him carry the cross. Luke 23, Jesus is crucified. Also in Luke 23, Jesus promises his kingdom to the good thief, the good criminal. John chapter 19, Jesus speaks to his mother, "Behold your son," and to the beloved disciple, "Behold your mother." and she would live her later years in Ephesus, where St. John served. Luke 23. Jesus dies on the cross. Finally, Matthew 27. Jesus is placed in the tomb. Each of these steps are to remind us that Jesus bore the burden we could not bear. That doesn't mean that we too do not have to take up our cross and follow him. We do. But the brunt of the work, the bulk of the work, the impossible for us work, was done by God. And the scoffers and the detractors would say, well, it would be easy for him because he was God. And I tell you the truth, I don't know. This I do know. Only God could do what needed to be done. And he did. Ponder and reflect, for you and I are called to be theologians of the cross. Let us take up our cross and follow Jesus.